Have you ever gotten a paper cut and days later it's still there bugging you? Or a scrape that just seems to take forever to fade? It's something we all complain about, but what if I told you it points to a really deep, kind of fascinating mystery about our bodies? Turns out, when you stack us up against the rest of the animal kingdom, we are shockingly, almost dangerously bad at healing. So this whole idea really clicked for an evolutionary biologist named Akiko Matsumoto Oda. She was out in Kenya studying wild baboons, and she noticed they were getting into scraps all the time. I mean, they were sustaining what looked like pretty serious injuries. But the thing that blew her mind was how fast they bounced back. Their wounds would just vanish, way, way faster than any cut or scrape she'd ever had. And that one observation, right there, kicked off a whole new line of research. And look, this isn't just a hunch she had, it's a cold, hard fact. When scientists actually measured it, they found that mammals, we're talking chimps, monkeys, even mice, heal at a rate of about 0.61 millimeters a day. And us, humans, we're crawling along at a measly 0.25 millimeters. Just do the math. Our closest animal relatives heal more than twice as fast as we do. It's kind of crazy. So this brings us to a really peculiar part of our story as a species, a surprising weakness. In a world where healing quickly is a massive leg up for survival, we somehow ended up at the back of the line. So that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, think about it. Humans have pretty much managed to take over the entire planet. We've got these huge brains, we build incredible things, we have these complex societies. So how in the world did we evolve with such a basic fundamental flaw? Why are we the slowpokes of the mammalian world when it comes to healing? So where do we even start looking for an answer? Well, it turns out the clues are, and I mean this literally, skin deep. They're hiding in plain sight, right on the surface of our bodies. And it all comes down to this little guy, the humble hair follicle. You know, we think of them as just the things that grow hair, but there's so much more than that. Each and every follicle is like a tiny self-contained factory, a little reservoir that's packed with powerful stem cells. And these cells aren't just for making hair, they're basically a first response team for fixing your skin. Okay, so here's how it works. Say you get a cut. Your body sends out an alarm signal. The stem cells hiding out inside your hair follicles wake up, and they actually migrate out from the follicle to the wound itself. And once they're there, they start building brand new skin. It's actually a pretty simple equation. The more follicles you have, the bigger and faster your repair crew is. An animal that's covered in dense fur has millions of these little healing factories just waiting to be deployed. And this is where the story gets really, really interesting. Because obviously, we humans are not covered in dense fur, which means we must have lost all those amazing healing factories for a very good reason. And this brings us to one of the most fundamental ideas in all of evolution. It's called an evolutionary trade-off. See, evolution isn't trying to build a perfect organism. It's all about what's good enough to survive and have babies. And sometimes, to gain a really powerful new advantage, you have to give something else up. A new awesome trait can come with a pretty big downside. But if the overall benefit is worth it, natural selection says, yep, that's a deal. And this right here was the massive bargain our ancient ancestors made. We traded away our thick coat of fur, and along with it, all those powerful healing hair follicles. And what did we get in return? Well, in its place, we developed millions of sweat glands, giving us probably the most sophisticated cooling system on the entire planet. We gave up fast healing so that we could become the undisputed champions of endurance. And the scale of this change is it's staggering. We didn't just tweak things a little, we totally redesigned our skin. The average human has about 10 times more sweat glands than a chimpanzee. We went all in on sweating. This ability to sweat was an absolute game changer. It meant our ancestors could actually hunt by just running animals to exhaustion out on the hot savanna. It was crucial for survival out in the open. And here's the big one. This amazing ability to regulate our temperature was also critical for supporting the evolution of our most precious and most heat-sensitive organ, our massive brain. But this incredible superpower, this ability to stay cool that really helped make us human, it came with a very steep price. And that price was being constantly vulnerable. Seriously, just think about it for a second. For an early human, a simple cut from a sharp rock wasn't just some minor thing. Because you heal slower, that wound stays open longer, and that massively increases the risk of a deadly infection. It was a huge survival disadvantage that was baked right into our biology. Which, of course, creates another huge puzzle. how on earth did this slow-healing, fragile-skinned ape manage to survive in a pretty dangerous world, let alone thrive and spread across the entire globe? If our biology was our weakness, what was our secret weapon? Well, the answer wasn't biological at all. It was social. We survived because we had something way more powerful than fast-healing skin. We had each other. And you can see this incredible story in the fossil record. Archaeologists found a Homo erectus skull, 1.8 million years old, from a person who had lost all their teeth long before they died. There's no way they could chew, but someone in their group took care of them, maybe mashing up food so they could survive. And then you have Shanidar 1, a Neanderthal, who lived to be middle-aged, even though he had a crushed skull, a withered arm, and a bunch of other horrible injuries. He would have been completely helpless on his own. And this is exactly what the researchers who discovered our slow healing rate think happened. They basically wrote that this kind of social support, taking care of the sick and the injured, was probably the very thing that let us overcome the downside of healing so slowly. We made up for our biological fragility with compassion and cooperation. And this leads to a truly mind-bending idea. What if our slow healing wasn't just a flaw we had to deal with? What if this vulnerability was actually a feature? What if it was a biological bug that pushed us, that forced us to become more reliant on each other? It might have been one of the key pressures that forged our deeply social, cooperative, and empathetic nature. So in the end, the story of why your paper cut takes so long to heal is really the story of what it means to be human. We traded fast, lonely healing for the endurance to explore the world and the social bonds that define us. Our greatest physical weakness may have been the key that unlocked our greatest strength. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other so-called human flaws aren't actually the hidden features that make us who we are?